So hey guys, what's up? So welcome to my news channel. So starting from the first news, Turkish forces seize targets in northeast Syria offensive. Turkey said its forces seized designated targets on the second day of an offensive against a Kurdish militia in Syria, after withdrawal by United States forces opened up a dangerous new phase in the region's 8-year-old conflict. Senior members of the United States President Donald Trump on Republican Party condemned for making way for the incursion and abandoning Syrian Kurds who have been loyal allies of Washington in the fight against Islamic State in Syria. NATO-allied Turkey has said it intends to create a safe zone for the return of millions of refugees to Syria. But world powers fear Turkey's action could deepen the conflict and runs the risk of Islamic State prisoners escaping from camps amid the chaos. The Kurdish-led authority in northern Syria said a prison stuck by Turkish shelling holds the most dangerous criminals for more than 60 nationalities, and Turkey attacks on its prisons risk a catastrophe. Our heroic commanders taking part in Operation Peace Spring are continuing to advance east of the Euphrates, the Defense Ministry wrote on Twitter. The designated targets were seized, it said in a latest statement. India has added its voice to the international condemnation and concerns over Turkey's invasion of northeastern Syria in an offensive there against Syrian Kurdish fighters. India's foreign ministry issued a press release saying New Delhi is deeply concerned at the unilateral military offensive by Turkey in northeastern Syria. The United Nations Security Council will hold an emergency meeting to discuss the recent Turkey offensive. Tomorrow morning we are going to do Colombia briefing, and immediately afterwards the Syrian question is scheduled for tomorrow morning. The Council's President, South African Ambassador Jerry Magilla told reporters two notorious Islamic State jihadists, dubbed the Beatles, who were held by Syrian Kurds, are now in U.S. custody and have been moved out of the country. Trump said in a tweet the pair were part of an extremely violent, all-British four-man cell that kidnapped and tortured foreigners. West Asia shifting geopolitical trends. The commitment of the United States is dipping. Regional powers will continue to jostle. The Turkish military action against the Kurdish Syrian enclave falling and green light from the Kurds' former backers. United States is a useful indicator of the several geopolitical trends in West Asia. The immediate response, especially in the United States, has been to use the decision as an additional foil to attack President Donald Trump, who unusually is receiving flack from many Republican Party leaders. This is unlikely to sustain for too long. The Turks will seek to create a buffer zone between themselves and their long and standing opponents, the Kurds, but refrain from entertaining Kurdish population centers. The Turkish President Recep Erdogan will receive a badly needed domestic political flip. Mr. Trump will portray it as a fulfillment of his promise to limit, if not wind down, his government's overseas military commitment. A flash in the pan war will quickly be forgotten by the world, with only the Kurds being the worst for it. Syria's future will now increasingly be decided by the Russian-backed Syrian regime in Damascus, rather than the mosaic of enclaves held by the Syrian rebels. The Kurds and even Turkey, Mr. Erdogan's military push into Syria should be seen as a sign of weakness, compared to his earlier overweening plans to make Turkey the dominant Islamic power of the Eastern Mediterranean. Taking on a lively armed Kurdish militia is hardly the stuff of empire building. Talk of a neo-Ottoman rebel has been reduced to only talk. On its path, the United States has reinforced the sense that its strategic commitment to West Asia continues to fade. Its interventions, intermittent and short-lived. India's interests lie within the Persian Gulf rather than the Levant. But the shifting sands of one affect the other. The chaos of the Syrian civil war is being replaced by a more traditional jostling for influence by West Asia. Many aspiring regional powers expect similar skirmishes and maneuvering in the years to come. Move to the next news. American companies hold up India-United States trade agreement. Some US companies are at odds with their Indian branches over the willingness to accept tariffs and duties in India. According to officials in the United States familiar with the discussions being held for an Indian-US trade deal that should lead to the opening of the agriculture sectors of the two countries on a reciprocal basis, and an ambitious free trade agreement, talks are underway towards an interim deal in the near term and an FTA over a longer term, with India agreeing to open up portions of its agriculture sector in exchange for partial restoration of its benefits under a zero-tariff preferential U.S. trade program. As part of this negotiation, the United States is also understood to have dropped its demand for access to India's dairy sector, a particularly vexatious issue given religious sensibilities in India to dairy products derived from cattle reared on animal feed. The dispute, according to the people cited above, is between Indian branches and their U.S. headquarters, while Indian entities are willing to settle for reduced but nominal tariffs of only 5% on information and communication technology ICT products, and their American headquarters are pushing for zero tariff in a bid to leverage White House intervention to the fullest. On medical devices such as students and kneecap implants, a U.S. market leader is in dispute with the Industries Representation Association on trade margins at first point of sale, a key issue in a heavily priced regulated market. A trade deal was expected to be signed by United States President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi at their bilateral meeting in New York on the margins of the United Nations General Assembly meeting in September. But it wasn't, and Trump said a short-term deal was more likely with a larger one later on. Even if differences on the ICT and medical equipment are sorted out, the deal is understood to be still some months from being wrapped up and would require at least one more meeting of the principals. Union Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal and the U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer largely overlooked at the time in the excitement over Trump-Modi and Trump-Imran Khan talks. Officials from both sides have since acknowledged the two-track talks but have refused to publicly discuss details until now. Especially, the efforts focus on the long-term goal of an FTA, which paves the way for low tariffs and enhanced market access on a reciprocal basis between two signatories. Both India and the US separately have multiple bilateral and multilateral FTAs, and FTAs are very much on the table, said Mukesh Aghi, head of the US India Strategic Partnership Forum, an advocacy group that has been at the forefront of promoting ties between the two countries in commercial and security sectors.